I need you to hear this. Your soul is worth more than anything else in this world. It's worth more than your doubts, your fears, your pride, or whatever's holding you back. Jesus stood in your place, took your pain, and opened the door to heaven so you could walk through it. But that door isn't open forever. One day it will close. And when it does, the choice will no longer be yours to make. So I'm asking you now, if this was your last chance, would you say yes to him? Or would you wait until it's too late, looking back with nothing but regret? This is your crossroads moment. And I'm telling you, there is no second chance after this.
Hey there. Before we proceed into this powerful testimony, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on important updates like this. What you're about to hear could change the way you see everything. Your choices, your purpose, and your future. Don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And as you listen, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to leave a prayer or share how you've been impacted by this message. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
Sitting there watching this, have you ever felt like the clock is ticking? Like every second slipping away is carrying something precious with it? What if I told you that every moment could be deciding your forever? I need you to stop whatever you're doing and listen, really listen. What you're about to hear isn't just another story. It's a warning, a glimpse into what happens when this life ends and eternity begins. I've seen it, I've felt it, heaven and hell. And let me tell you, once you've been there, you can't ever unsee it. It started when I was just a child. My life was like any other. School, friends, little problems that felt big. But something happened to me that I never expected. Something so real, so vivid, it still keeps me awake at night. And no, this wasn't a dream. It wasn't some imagination of a restless kid. This was real. As real as you sitting there watching the screen. I was standing in a place so beautiful it almost hurt. A place where every worry I had just melted away. I could feel peace. Peace that wrapped around me like the safest hug you could ever want. And there he was, standing right in front of me. I didn't know much about him back then, but somehow I knew. Just knew. He was everything my soul had ever been looking for. But then, years later, I saw the other side. The place nobody wants to talk about. Oh, a place that makes your worst nightmare feel like a warm blanket. I saw the screams, the torment, the endless regret. And the worst part, it didn't have to be that way for them. They had a choice, but they waited too long. So let me ask you something. If you had one chance to avoid that pain, would you take it? Or would you gamble with your soul, thinking you've got time? This isn't just a story. This is your crossroads. You have to decide. But before you make your choice, let me tell you what heaven really looks like. Hold on to your seat, because what I'm about to share might just change everything. The first glimpse of paradise. Let me tell you about the moment everything changed. I was 7 years old, sitting in a quiet church, not really knowing what to expect. I didn't know much about God back then. He was just a word people said when they prayed or something I heard in Sunday school. But on this day, something incredible happened. The light came first, soft and warm like the gentlest sunrise you've ever felt. But it wasn't just light. It was alive, full of love. Pulled me in, made me feel safe, like nothing bad could ever touch me again. And then there he was, standing right in front of me. He wasn't distant or angry like I'd sometimes heard about. Oh, he was kind. So kind that it made me want to cry. He smiled at me, and it was like he could see right through everything. Every fear, every little mistake. But instead of judgment, all I felt was love. Deep, unshakable love. He spoke to me. Not with fancy words, but like someone who really cared. He asked me about the little things. Things only a 7-year-old would worry about. Are you upset because your mom scolded you? Did you fight with your friend? It wasn't just that he asked. It was how he asked, like every single thing that mattered to me mattered to him too. I didn't want to leave. Couldn't. I begged him to let me stay there forever. And do you know what he told me? He said, "Not yet. There's more for you to do." And just like that, it was over. I came back to the real world, but nothing felt the same. I wanted to go back so badly. I wanted to feel that peace again. And something inside me whispered, there is more. Don't stop searching. Now I need to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were meant for more? Like there's something waiting for you, something bigger than all the noise around you? 'Cause let me tell you, that feeling is real. But here's the thing. Not everyone makes it there. Not everyone gets to see what I saw. And I'm telling you this because you need to know, there's a way to miss it. I didn't know that then. I was just a kid, desperate to find that feeling again. I started looking everywhere. But let me warn you, sometimes the search isn't easy. And sometimes the answers take you to places you never expected. What happens when the light feels far away? What happens when the questions get louder than the answers? That's where my story took a turn. And that's where the shadows started creeping in. The search for meaning. When I came back from that place of peace, I was different. But the world around me, it was the same. The noise, the chaos, the emptiness. I felt it all, even more than before. And I kept asking myself, why did he send me back? What am I supposed to do now? I couldn't shake the memory of that light, that love, that safety. It was like a piece of my heart had stayed there. And nothing in this world could fill the space it left behind. So I started searching. I thought if I could just get close to him again, I'd feel whole. I looked everywhere, prayed. I read every book I could find about God. I even went to a convent, thinking that if I gave my whole life to serving him, I'd find what I was looking for. But instead of hearing his voice, all I found was silence. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're doing everything you're supposed to, but it's not enough. Like the harder you try, the further away the answers feel. I started to get frustrated, angry even. I'd close my door at night, sit on my bed and cry out, "Why can't I hear you? Why won't you speak to me?" Felt so small, lost. But then, something strange started happening. Little by little, I noticed that certain words would seem to leap off the page when I read the Bible. They weren't just words, they felt alive. They'd press into my heart like they were written just for me. And that's when I realized, he was speaking to me through the scriptures. I just hadn't been paying attention. The more I read, the closer I felt to him. But the closer I got, the more I started to sense something else too. Something dark. Something that didn't want me to keep searching. First it was just a feeling, like being watched in a dark room. Then the dreams started. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, your heart pounding, and you don't know why? That's how it was for me. I'd see shadows moving, hear whispers that made my skin crawl. I tried to brush it off, but deep down I knew. This wasn't just my imagination. There's something that doesn't want you to find the light. Something that feeds on fear, on anger, on doubt. And the more you search for peace, the more it tries to pull you back into the dark. I didn't know it then, but I was being prepared for something I couldn't have understood. Because my search wasn't just going to take me to heaven. It was about to drag me straight into hell. And let me tell you, no one is ready for what I saw next. The descent into the abyss. I'll never forget the first time I saw it. Oh, it didn't start with fire or screams. At first, it was just a heavy feeling like the air was pressing down on me. Then came the darkness, thick, cold, and alive. I was standing in a place I didn't understand, and yet, somehow, I knew exactly where I was. Hell isn't just a place. So wait. A suffocating void that pulls at your soul. And it's terrifying because, deep down, you know it's where everything lost ends up. I could hear them before I could see them, the voices. They weren't speaking words. They were screaming. Screaming so loud it felt like it was tearing through me. I wanted to cover my ears, but it didn't matter. The sound wasn't just outside. It was inside, clawing at my mind. Then I saw them. Souls. Twisted, broken, trapped. They weren't just hurting, they were tormented. And it wasn't just the flames. It was regret. It was knowing they could have chosen a different path but didn't. I wanted to help them, but I couldn't move. Could only watch. And the demons. They were everywhere. Laughing, sneering, feeding off the pain like it gave them strength. They weren't shadows or vague shapes. They were real. So real that I still see them when I close my eyes. And the worst part, some of them still looked human. One of them locked eyes with me. I'll never forget the look on its face. Pure hate. It started to move toward me, and for the first time I felt something I can't even describe. It wasn't just fear. It was like my soul was being torn apart piece by piece. And then I heard him. "Daughter, you are with me." I turned, and there he was, Jesus. His voice silenced everything. The screams, the hate, the chaos. All of it. He stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder, and I felt safe again. But he wasn't smiling this time. His face was filled with sadness. Pain so deep it was almost unbearable to look at. He pointed toward the souls and said, "This is what I wanted to save them from. This is why I died for them." I couldn't stop crying. "Why are they here?" asked him. "Why didn't they turn to you?" And he looked at me, his eyes filled with tears, and said, "Because they chose not to." I don't know if you've ever felt the weight of those words, but they're heavier than anything you can carry. The souls were crying out for him, begging for mercy, but it was too late. He couldn't reach them anymore. Let me ask you something. If you could avoid that kind of pain, wouldn't you? If you knew that every choice you make could lead you closer to him, or closer to this, what would you choose? I know this is hard to hear, but you need to know. Hell isn't just a punishment. It's a result. A result of rejecting the very one who offers you a way out. But there's something else you need to understand. Seeing hell wasn't just about the torment. It was about seeing the heart of Jesus breaking for those he loves. And that was almost harder to bear than the flames. And now I need to tell you about what he showed me next. What he feels when he sees people suffer. You need to know. The pain of the divine. When Jesus spoke to me, his voice shook me to my core. Not because it was loud, it wasn't. It was quiet, steady, but filled with so much grief that I could feel it deep in my chest. He said, "I didn't create them for this. I made them to be with me forever." And that's when I felt it. His pain. Not just sadness, but the kind of pain that comes from losing someone you love so much, you do anything to save them. That's what he felt for every soul in that place. I asked him, "Why does it hurt you so much?" He looked at me with tears running down his face and said, "Because I gave everything for them. I died for them. I carried their sins. I took their punishment so they wouldn't have to." And then he paused. His voice trembled as he said, "But they turned away. They chose to walk their own path, and now I can't reach them." Have you ever seen someone cry for someone they love, knowing they can't help them anymore? It's the most heartbreaking thing in the world. But this wasn't just one person. This was millions. He showed me how he reached out to them again and again through their lives. In moments of joy, in moments of pain, he was always there, waiting for them to call out to him. But some never did. He said, "Daughter, I don't send anyone here. They send themselves. I gave them the choice, but they refused to let me in." I felt the weight of it all. His pain, his love, and his longing for them. It was overwhelming. And then he turned to me and said something I will never forget. Tell them I don't want this for them. Tell them I love them more than they can ever understand. But they have to choose me. They have to want me. I'm telling you this now because I don't want you to ever feel what he feels when he sees people rejecting his love. It's not just sadness. It's a heartbreak so deep it never fades. Think about your life. Are there moments when you've felt him calling you? Maybe through a friend's words. Or in the quiet when everything else fades away, and you feel something stirring in your heart. That's him. That's Jesus reaching out, hoping you'll say yes. But here's the truth. There's a time limit. There's a point where the choice is no longer yours to make. Once you cross that line, it's final. I saw what happens when people wait too long. I saw the regret that never ends, the cries that go unanswered. You don't want that. You don't want to be one of the souls calling out when it's too late. And that's why I have to tell you what he told me next. His final warning. You need to hear this. The warning to all. As I stood there with Jesus, watching the souls cry out, He turned to me and said something that shook me to my core. "Daughter," he said, "they didn't believe it would come to this. They thought they had more time." His words hit me like a thunderclap. More time. That's what they thought. That's what so many of us think, isn't it? We push things off, tell ourselves we'll deal with it later. But what if later never comes? He looked out at the endless torment and said, "This is why I ask them to choose me now. Not tomorrow. Not when they feel ready. But now. Because tomorrow isn't promised." I don't know what's happening in your life right now, but let me ask you something. Have you ever had that voice inside you telling you to change, to make things right? Maybe you've ignored it. Maybe you've told yourself there's no rush. But the truth is, there's always a rush. Because eternity doesn't wait. Jesus showed me how close some people come to missing him. One moment, they're standing on the edge of choosing him, but the next, life gets in the way. Distractions, doubts, pride. It pulls them back little by little, until the choice is no longer theirs to make. He said, "Tell them not to wait. Tell them to let me in while they still can." There's no magic formula. No list of rules to follow. It's about your heart. All he asks is that you say yes. Yes to his love. Yes to his forgiveness. Yes to the chance to be with him forever. But here's the part that's hard to hear. Not everyone says yes. Not everyone believes he's real. And some people, even when they do believe, let fear and doubt keep them from making the decision. I need to ask you something, straight to your heart. What's stopping you? Is it fear? Is it pride? Or is it that little voice whispering, "You have more time"? Because the souls I saw in hell, they all had that same voice. And now, all they have is regret. Jesus wasn't angry as he showed me this. He wasn't trying to scare me. But his sadness, it was like nothing I've ever seen before. He said, "I want them to choose me because I love them. I don't want to lose even one." So what will you do? Right now you have a choice. Right now you can say yes. But that window doesn't stay open forever. And that's why I need to tell you about the moment everything came together. The moment I realized that we're all standing at a crossroads. And the choice we make now echoes forever. What he showed me next is something you need to hear. It's about you. Well, life. Your eternity. Your crossroads moment. I need you to stop for a second and think. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not later. Right now. Because this is the moment that matters. The moment that could change everything. When I stood there with Jesus, looking at those souls trapped in regret, I realized something that shook me to the core. Every single one of them had a chance. Every single one of them stood where you're standing right now. At a crossroads. The choice was theirs to make. And for some reason they didn't make it. Maybe they thought they had more time. Maybe they were waiting for the right moment. Maybe they thought they'd get one last chance. But the truth is, the only moment we ever really have is the one we're in right now. This is your moment. I can't force you to make a choice. Jesus didn't force me. But I need you to hear this. Your soul is worth more than anything else in this world. It's worth more than your doubts, your fears, your pride, or whatever's holding you back. He loves you. Not the kind of love that changes with the wind or fades when things get hard. No. His love is deeper, stronger, and more real than anything you've ever known. It's the kind of love that fights for you. The kind of love that dies for you. And that's exactly what he did. He gave everything so you wouldn't have to. He stood in your place, took your pain, and opened the door to heaven so you could walk through it. But the door isn't open forever. One day it will close. And when it does, the choice will no longer be yours to make. Let me ask you something. If this was your last chance, what would you do? If this was the moment that decided your forever, would you say yes to him? You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to stand in that place of regret, looking back at all the chances you had and wondering why you didn't take them. Right now you can choose life. Right now you can choose peace. Right now you can say yes to the one who's been waiting for you all along. So what will it be? This is your crossroads moment.
Wow! What an incredible and eye-opening journey. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others who need to hear this truth. I encourage you to leave a comment below, whether it's a prayer, a reflection, or a question. Whatever it is, let's continue this conversation together. If you feel led to make a decision today or need support, let us know. You're not alone. And remember, this is your crossroads moment. Make it count.